You versus your brain is the way that I describe the internal conflict that we have when we study or when we're trying to do something difficult. Okay, so there's there's you who knows that there's things that you need to do. You need to go to the gym. You need to study. You need to do questions instead of instead of sitting on the couch. You need to go to class. You need to read. You need to learn. Whatever the case is. And then there's your brain is kind of the name that I'm giving the part of your internal self that doesn't want to do these things, is a little bit lazy, is a little bit more passive. I don't really want to go to gym. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'd rather watch TV. I'd rather watch Netflix. I'd rather watch YouTube. I'd rather watch cat videos, etc. So there's this constant internal conflict within yourself where you, again, the name that I'm giving to the part of yourself that's logical and rational and says, you want to study and you want to go to gym and you want to do all these things that are really good for you. And then there's your brain that's fighting with you, if you will, and provides an constant internal conflict going, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And the question is, which one wins? Which one wins that internal conflict? Is it you that wants to go to gym, or is it your brain that says, oh, I don't feel like it, we can go tomorrow, I'm not really ready, I'm a little tired, I'm hungry, whatever the case is. Is it you that knows that you need to sit down and study, or your brain that says, I'm a little tired and I need to eat lunch first, and there's no point in studying now because I'm too tired anyway? So that's constantly an internal conflict between you versus your brain. Why aren't they aligned? Right? Why aren't these two aligned? They have different, or these two parts of yourself have different motivations, different strengths and weaknesses. You are logical, right? So you're prepared to say, I need to do the tough stuff. I need to do what is difficult, and I'm going to commit to this, and I'm going to sit down, and I agree, I need to work hard, and I need to do all these things that are really difficult to do. And yes, I'm prepared to do that. Then there's your brain. And your brain is more emotional and it's more fearful. That part of yourself, that other side of yourself is more fearful. And it says, yeah, I understand that we need to work hard, but I'm a little bit scared about that. What if it doesn't work out? Your brain doesn't like uncertainty. As humans, our brains are not okay with uncertainty, right? We don't like change. We don't like change. We don't like failure. We're not okay with failure. We're not okay with stuff that makes us feel bad. So when you're dealing with, or when you're thinking about your brain and the part of your personality or the internal messaging that's going, I don't like uncertainty, I don't like failure, I don't like change, I don't like feeling bad, then you think about studying and you say, all of these things that your brain is worried about is the type of things that's going to pop up when you study. When you study, there's a lot of uncertainty. What can come up in the exam? Will I know how to write the exam? Is the exam going to be too hard for me or too easy? How much do I have to study this thing? How little do I have to study this thing? Change, new things, dealing with things in new ways that I'm not comfortable with. Failure. What if I fail that exam? What if I fail that question? What if I fail that test? I'm not going to feel good. I'm not okay with that. Your brain wants to stay in comfort zones. Okay, as human beings, we spend a lot of our time trying to stay in a comfort zone. I want to stay somewhere when I'm comfortable, I know what's going on, I'm certain about my future, I don't have any fears, I'm completely in control of everything that's going on. And studying especially takes you completely out your comfort zone. It gives you new information you've never seen before, at a level you've never dealt with it before, at a complexity you've never dealt with it before, completely uncertain. It puts you in a place where you have performance anxiety. It sets you up for the chance of failure if you don't do things the right way and if you don't perform on that day. So everything about your comfort zone and the things that make you happy to stay in your comfort zone are completely shoved out the window when you have to study. So there's no, it's a no-brainer that there's going to be an internal conflict between you who have decided that you need to study and your brain that's going, but I want to stay in my comfort zone. I want to be comfortable here. This is where I want to stay. In terms of your studying, the best thing that you can do, when you're studying is to make sure that you're aware of this stuff, right? Your awareness is the starting point of this, being aware that there are two sides to this, because you don't follow that argument. You don't follow that internal argument. It just happens. Your brain just makes that decision of, we're not going to study today. So you don't really consciously go through that argument and go, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. It happens so fast in your brain that the decision pops out, I'm too tired, I'm not going to study now. That decision was arrived at by your brain going, I should study, guilty, the little guilt button, I should study, I should do this, yeah, but I'm tired. I probably won't study properly if I'm tired, and I won't really absorb the information anyway, so it's pointless. And the winning side of the argument, if you will, pops out as I'm not studying. But we don't consciously follow that up and consciously look at that argument. So the first thing, when you're sitting in a position or as you start studying, the first thing I want you to do is to bring that argument and bring that debate to the front of your mind so that you can actually watch it like as though you're watching a soap opera, that you can actually see the sides of your brain and you can see those arguments. It's kind of amusing when you don't think about how serious it is. It's kind of funny because you can almost picture, it's like having, a little angel and a little devil on your shoulder, and the one's going, you really need to study, and the other one's going, I don't feel like studying. Well, I'm sure we'll get away with it. We'll spot for the exam. I don't feel like it. I'm too tired. I'm hungry. I don't want to do it. And there's this constant argument between them, and the question is, who are you listening to? Right? Are you listening to the side that's logical, or are you listening to the side that's fearful and wants to stay in its comfort zone? And this happens at every level. It happens when you're deciding or you have to actually sit down and study, there's an internal conflict. When you have to sit down and decide how you're going to study, whether you're going to study theory or do a question, the conflict pops up again. No, we don't want to do a question. We're not ready for a question yet. We need to study theory. We need more theory. We need to highlight more, make more summaries. We can't do a question yet because we're not ready for that yet. That's the decision. That's the internal conflict again. Question versus theory, logical versus fearful, and comfort zone. So your awareness, watching that argument, and then you have to actively decide. And in some cases, as weird as it sounds, you have to verbalize that, and you have to verbalize the logic behind that. Because in some cases, by verbalizing it, you realize just how ridiculous it is that you allow your brain to make these decisions for you. Because this side, that side will happen naturally. When you're not paying attention to it or you're not consciously aware of that, that's going to happen naturally. We are so used to, and our brain is so used to making decisions to stay in our comfort zone, that's going to happen completely naturally. Shifting over, I don't know why my pen keeps on putting a line through it. Shifting over to the logical side, doing the tough stuff, that happens by practice. That we have to put habits in our head. That we have to force ourselves to do because it's not something that comes naturally to us. Sitting down at a desk and studying properly, it isn't natural to us. Not when we're stressed out and life is hard and we've got a lot of responsibilities and we don't have a lot of time and it's not going so easy and we're studying stuff that's quite complicated and it's not that fun anyway. It's really not that entertaining. That doesn't come naturally. So we have to work at it. Sadly, in a lot of cases, we kind of feel as though it should come naturally. I've made the decision at the beginning of the year to study, and so I will just study. And if I don't feel like studying, I'm just kind of not going to study. You get to the end of the year and you sort of realize just how much time has disappeared that you've made excuses about. And you still make excuses, and your brain still makes excuses for it. But the reality is you haven't studied. Why? Because there's an internal conflict between comfort zones, between your brain going, I want to stay in my comfort zone, and the logic of what you actually have to do. Make no mistake, your brain is smart, right? So the excuses and the validations and the reasons and the manipulations that your brain gives you about staying in the comfort zone, your brain is smart. It's sneaky and it's manipulative, and it will give you all sorts of reasons, conscious and subconscious, mainly subconscious, about why you don't need to study, or why you don't need to do so many questions, or why you should rather do something else, why you should rather do theory instead of studying, why you should rather sleep instead of studying. Don't underestimate how sneaky your brain is. It will tell you anything you want to hear in order to get you to do what it wants you to do. And it wants you to stay in your comfort zone. Why does your brain like your comfort zone so much? Why is your brain so desperate to keep you away from the tough stuff, from doing questions, right? Because this is what we want. We need to do questions. We need to do tough questions. Okay? Why is your brain avoiding that so much? Why is it trying to stay in this comfort zone? It's kind of quite simple. Your brain is trying to protect you. Okay? It's trying to protect you from all these weird negative things. It doesn't want to make you feel bad because it knows that if you do that tough question and you fail that tough question during your study session, you're going to feel bad. You may worry that because you failed the practice question, you're going to fail the exam. You become uncertain, you become fearful, you become unhappy, and your brain doesn't want you to be unhappy. It wants to protect you, wants to make you feel better. But your brain has a very short-term thinking. It's going to protect you now, but in the long run, it's detrimental. Your logic operates in the long term. Logic wins over in the long term because you realize that although I feel really horrible because I failed the question today, by doing that question, I am more likely to pass in the long run. But your brain isn't okay with that. Your brain wants to protect you right here, right now. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel like a failure, and you're going to feel like a failure. If you do that question now and you fail it now, you're going to feel like a failure. So you know what? Don't do that question now. Go and make more summaries of your textbook. And then after you've made summaries of your textbook, then you can do the tough questions and then you won't feel so bad. Then you won't fail and you won't feel so bad. And so the conversation continues. So your brain is not against you, but your brain has short-term thinking that's trying to protect you. And short-term thinking doesn't get you through tough exams. Short-term thinking doesn't prepare you for exams, doesn't get the tough work and the hard work done in order to get to your goal. Logic gets you to your goal, not emotions and not comfort zones. So when you're studying and when you need to sit down and study, or when you're kind of in that point where that little bit of guilt hits you, and let's be honest, it happens a lot, break it down and slow down your thinking. Actively slow down your thinking so that you watch these sides of the argument take place. And the more that you bring these to the forefront, you can then make an active decision about what you're prepared to do. If your brain is out to protect you from feeling bad, how do we change this? How do we put ourselves in a position where you and your brain start landing up on the same page, where you're happy to work outside your comfort zone because it doesn't make you feel so bad? It sounds a little bit strange, and some of the best advice that I got in order, for me to deal with this, because I struggled with this a lot as well. I got some really, really great advice from my performance coach who said to me, one of the great ways to do this is to actually sit down and have a conversation with your brain, like a verbal, actual conversation with your brain as though you're speaking to another person. And it sounds a little bit strange, I know, but I tried it because I was tired of feeling scared to operate outside my comfort zone. And he said, sit down and have a conversation with your brain. Talk to your brain and say, you don't need to protect me anymore. The fight or flight syndrome, I'm big, fat, and ugly enough to take care of myself. And I realize that I've got some tough goals ahead of me, and I've set myself some really great, important goals, and they're going to be hard to get to. And in order to get to them, I need to do things that are difficult. And some of them are not going to go so well, and some of them are going to go well. But you don't need to protect me from that. I'll be okay. If I fail, I will pick myself up and start again. If I'm uncertain, I will persevere. If I'm fearful, I will overcome that. We'll work through this. I don't need to be protected. I don't need to be put in a cage and protected by my brain. I need you as my brain to help me to get to that. I need you to be my cheerleader, not my protector. I need you to be my cheerleader standing on the side going, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, rather than my bodyguard going, stay away, stay away, stay away. You can't do that. So I know it sounds like strange advice, but this issue, the you versus your brain, affects what you do every single day. every moment of every day, because every moment of every day we are making decisions, actively or passively, about what we spend our time doing. Am I going to go to gym, or am I going to sit on the couch? Am I going to go do questions, or am I going to go highlight notes? Am I going to go have lunch, or am I going to go and study? Every day, every moment of every day, we're making small decisions about what we're doing. And the question is, are you doing what you should do, or are you doing what your brain wants you to do because it wants to stay in a comfort zone and wants to protect you and help you, make you feel good in the short term without thinking about the long term? Sit down, have a conversation with your brain as though it's another person. Talk through that. Don't need you to protect me. I don't need you to worry so much about me feeling bad. I can deal with it. I can handle it. We're in this together. We'll be okay. I need you to help push me forward. I need you to help encourage me, motivate me, and we'll be okay. If we fail the question, we'll be fine. So you versus your brain, extremely important, because it impacts what you do every moment of every single day.